Okay, well, welcome to what we are going to call the Win Wrap. And we're going to be trying some new things this year with social media and things. And one of that is some video and talking with some of the people that have been speakers for Win. And so we had our first Win meeting in January, and Miss Amber with the Organizer Chics was our speaker. She's also on our board, so she's a good trial person here for some of this new media that we're going to work on. So what we're going to do is just kind of maybe recap a little bit. So those people that could not attend Win, which I will tell you, you missed a fabulous meeting, can get a little bit of that, your tips, and then we'll talk a little bit about women in networking in general. So I guess tell us a little bit about what you talked about at the meeting.
Sure. Well, I'm Amber Taggard, the owner of the Organizer Chics, and one of the things that we do is organize time as well as physical spaces. And so we talked about time management, and as business women, that's something that I think we all are having to juggle, how to make everything fit in the day. And so I just wanted to come and share a couple of best tips and best practices that I talked about at the meeting. And one of them that is a fan favorite and one that will really change your life if you'll let it is something that we call the 2-minute rule. And basically what this means is that if you have a task that takes 2 minutes or less to complete, the key is to do it now. Sometimes we have these little tasks that we think, oh, I'll just set this on the counter and I'll put it in the file later, or I'll just plop this right here on my desk and then I'll deal with that and put it where it goes. Yeah, it's common. Don't feel bad. But one of the big keys and one of the things that happens is that the end of the day comes and we finally have some time to ourselves, but there are 30 2-minute tasks that we've kind of put off throughout the day that are there waiting for us and that are feeling overwhelming to us and that are keeping us from being able to relax. So the 2-minute rule says if you can do it in 2 minutes or less, do it now. And if you'll put that into practice in your life, which, it takes a little time to create a new habit.
Yes, it does. I can tell.
Yeah. But if you work on that and you try to just be mindful of you just doing it now when you can, then that'll be something that's really helpful. That goes hand in hand with something that we say, touch once. And so that's a really similar concept. And that means instead of putting this here and then saying later I'm going to put this where it goes, you just touch once. You touch it exactly to the place where it goes. So the item goes in the hamper instead of on the bed and then into the hamper later.
Now if I can just teach that concept to my kids and my husband, exactly. I will be good on that one.
Exactly. So. Start by setting a good example. And actually, you mentioning kids and husband, that brings in one of our questions that we had. We opened it up to everyone in Women in Networking and said, hey, what did we maybe not get to address in the meeting that you might like to have answered? And Amy messaged us and said that she'd like to know a little bit about how to help kids deal with toys and all the toys and clean up for kids. And that's actually a really common question that we get. So I thought I'd spend a minute or two just addressing that. One of the things that I find that's very, very common in homes for adults and children is just this idea that we need to have all the things, right? Like we think we want all the things, we need all the things, and things are great
until we have to pick up the things,
right? Then we have to deal with all the things, and the things stress us out. The things we thought were going to make us happy can sometimes be the very things that end up making us feel blah. And so sometimes we think that children can't experience adult emotions like anxiety and like worry and like overwhelm, but they absolutely can. What they can't do is express that as well as you or I can, where we might say, oh my gosh, Stephanie, I'm totally overwhelmed with all this crap all over the place. A kid might not be able to vocalize that, and so they might act out in crazy ways. They might just flat refuse. They might kind of start pretending like they're cleaning up and then just go somewhere else in their minds because they're overwhelmed. And so one of our biggest tips for kids is we just do a ratio, and we suggest that you do a ratio of minutes to years. And here's what I mean by that. If your kid is 5 years old, they really don't need any more toys at one time available to them. Then it takes them 5 minutes to clean up. We want to set our kids up for success. And so we want to help them and enable them to be able to have a conquerable task, right? When I have a chore to do that takes forever and is big and overwhelming, I have a hard time not shutting down. And I'm a little more than 5 years old. So keeping that ratio in mind, we don't want our kids to have nothing to play with, but we also don't want them to have too much. It's really important, in my opinion, that our kids actually have the opportunity to get bored sometimes. Boredom helps us to tap into imagination and to playing with siblings at a deeper level and to using our toys maybe in a little bit of a different way. So I think it's really important that our kids can get a little bit bored and that they not have too much to deal with. Anybody, adult, man, woman, child, will get overwhelmed when there's too much stuff, and it's hard to appreciate all the things when you have all the things. So set your kids up for success. Think about that ratio of minutes to years, and you're going to have to help them initially to make sure they understand where home is. So this is something we see often with adults too. We want to put things away. For most people, there's an innate drive to put things away and to have some sense of calmness. It's not about living inside a Martha Stewart catalog, I tell people. It's not about living in perfection, but it is about having a home for things and having a place. If our kids or our husbands or ourselves don't know where to put things, we can't achieve that task completion. And so again, we're kind of being set up for failure. So get organized right the first time with your kids. Include them in that process if you can, especially if they're maybe a little hesitant. Helping it to be fun. Turn on the radio, open the windows, turn on the music, dance while you work. Help them to become intrinsically motivated to get that organizing done. Then they'll know where home is for these things. And then once you work with them and they know the process and they know how to put things away, help them to establish an appreciation and an internal appreciation for organizing by something as simple as just standing at the edge of the room and saying, wow, look how nice you made this room look. Look how good and peaceful it feels in here. Help them to get that internal motivation, that intrinsic drive to create and maintain their own organization and to find the value of it in their life. So
excellent,
that's a couple
excellent advice.
There.
And I will definitely take some of that. I do that. One of those with my oldest daughter. We put the music on, and when you turn the music on, like she's all about cleaning.
It's a party.
It's a party. It's a cleaning party.
That's right. Having the right mindset is so important. That's good.
Well, one of the other things that was kind of on my heart, because we're talking about women in networking, and we're all super busy, right? And we kind of do that to ourselves a lot of times, but we do need organization. And it's important for us in women in networking to meet with other ladies and share business and empower and refer and things. But how do you? Sometimes it's like, oh, I've got to meet with this lady, but can I really fit this into my schedule? And so maybe talk a little bit about being organized with your networking efforts.
Great, yes. So I can attest to the power of women in networking and to the working part of networking. Networking doesn't really happen in that hour and a half once a month when we get together and have lunch. That's great. Don't miss it. Be there. That's important. But that's not really where the work of networking comes in. The work, as you said and as you well know, is in these one-on-ones when we get to know each other, and that's when we can really have a relationship and refer each other because I trust you, I know you, I like you now. You're not just somebody that I shook hands with once at a meeting with 100 other ladies. So it's so crucial, and it's been, I'll just tell you, it's been so good for my business. I've been involved with women in networking for several years now, and it's always worth the price of my lunch ticket every time, no doubt about it. I always get that back, and I have a great lunch, and I have a lot of fun too. So well worth it to come to networking. But yes, the big work of networking is in having those one-on-ones. So a couple things you can do is schedule your one-on-ones then and there if possible. If you've met someone that's you're interested in, or maybe there's a connection, you could see a referral partner in your business, don't let her leave the building without saying, hey, let me grab you real quick. Here's my card. Let's schedule something now if possible. Again, kind of in that vein of the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes to whip out your calendars and find a time to meet in a couple weeks, do it now. Another thing you can do is have a set day, or at least a chunk of a day, that is open for these types of meetings. So it could be every Tuesday afternoon, or it could be every Thursday morning, whenever works for you. Having a set scheduled time in your calendar, even if it can't happen every week, even if it just needs to be the first Monday of every month, whatever that looks like for you, but deciding on a specific time that you can kind of chunk off and set aside for those networking meetings, for those one-on-ones, will help you to prioritize that like it should be a priority, and help you to have a consistent place where you know you can plug in those meetings that are going to be really important for your business.
That is excellent advice. I actually didn't know that was the tip you were going to give, but I have started to do that because I I have lots of meetings, and yeah, if you block off that time and you set it, then you remember it.
Right.
That's another key with networking. Make sure you show up for your meetings, because you're doing that first impression to some extent.
Absolutely.
There with a one-on-one, and so
Yeah.
make sure you do that. Really, right now, I think we've talked about a few things. We've given a few tips, and we're going to try to wrap up. And I just want to say thank you for watching our first episode, and give us some feedback. You can go to the website, winnwa.org, and there's several places on there that you can type in and give us feedback. You can always email us at winnwa@gmail.com, and we just want to hear from you. We want to do things that are going to empower you and educate you and support you. So thanks for watching the first episode of the Win Wrap, and we'll see you on the other side.